last time Trevor was down here with DD Kings, it was to drive one of their UD stock trucks, a brand that this fleet has been well known for over the years. But this time, we're down here in the South Island to drive the Volvo FMX, so why the change? Well, it's certainly not because they're unhappy with the UDs, it's just that the Volvo Group's Japanese make no longer has an 8-wheeler in its range. The Nissans also have nothing with the horsepower to handle HPMV loads, so the company has instead continued its loyalty with the Volvo Group by moving over to a couple of other Sime Darby brands, Mack and Volvo. Trevor is here to try out one of its new Volvo FMX loggers on a run that takes us out into familiar DD King country, picking up a load of logs at a forest just in behind Tuataupu and then heading off to the port. It has been wet down here leading up to our test drive, so the forestry roads aren't in the best condition, with some soft spots and a bit slippery in places. We load up to maximum weight using the SI Logex scales to keep a check on it, and then once driver Paul Williamson, aka Handles, is chained down, it's ready for the Trevor test. The FMX truck is a model developed for construction, so Trevor was expecting a rough and tough beast. But when he climbed up into the cab, that idea disappeared, with a nicely fitted out cab that would rival most highway trucks. The climb up into the cab involves negotiating two well-spaced deep steps aided by grab handles on either side of the door, and also through a nice wide opening door. Once inside, there's a great driver's air suspension seat with heating and pre-tensioner seat belts, and there's also a dupe pit for the passenger. Another nice touch is the gear shifter attached to the side of the seat, so it moves with the seat over bumpy ground. The iShift 12-speed transmission, one of the AMTs Trevor really rates, that's hooked up to the Euro 5 Volvo 13-litre engine, developing 500 horsepower. Cab trim is very particular, and the dash is flat, with full digital gauges that are easy to read and with functions that can be changed through the steering wheel mounted option buttons. There are various analytical and information functions. The rev counter is mounted immediately under the speedometer and makes viewing both revs and speed very easy. All the switches and controls are within easy reach, and the steering wheel column is fully adjustable. Mirrors are right up there with the best in the industry, with heated and electrically adjustable. There's also excellent convex mirrors at the bottom of the full shrouding. Liftoff fully loaded is smooth, and as we pull away from the skid site, the truck picks up gears smoothly with quick, clean shifting. There's not going to be too many big hills today, but on the forestry roads there's a few very steep little climbs that Trevor will need to watch. The first couple Trevor takes in auto, without putting the throttle pedal down to the power position. The engine drops right back to 1000 RPM and then picks up the next gear without any bother. All changes keep the revs nicely in the green band on the rev counter. And when Trevor put the throttle down harder, it immediately drops down a gear at around 1300 RPM, giving that little bit extra when it's needed. Regular driver Paul Williamson recommends a manual shift to third for a couple of the really steep climbs due to the current road conditions. On one of the hills, Trevor stops the truck and engages the hill start, which makes liftoff easy, even fully loaded. From there it picks up gears nicely in auto as we make the climb. Trevor is sure that the auto would have handled the hills on its own, but he does stay on the side of caution and uses the recommended manual shift to third. With lots of recent rain, the road conditions are pretty rough, however the ride is great, with very little discomfort in the cab and in the throttle. The throttle is an excellent weighted pedal that doesn't get affected by any rough road, which makes it easy to keep a nice steady throttle. Once we clear the bush, it's back to DD King's headquarters just north of Tuataupu for a checkway. We take the coastal route back through Riverton to please our photographer Gerald Shacklock, as he was excited about the scenery on the way out there in the morning, even though the locals will tell you it's a bumpy road back to Riverton. Well, Trevor reckons he must have missed the bumpy bits. The ride in the Volvo is smooth as. It's so quiet inside the cab, we can hold a normal conversation, no problems at all. Steering is excellent, with very little correction needed. Even on this bumpy road, Trevor only has one finger on the wheel at one stage to check how easy it is to keep online. Trevor doesn't really get a chance to try out the retarder on this run, but a few times he uses it to slow us down. It holds us well, and he does use a manual downshift a couple of times to increase its effectiveness. Certainly, with the increase in revs, the retarder becomes much more aggressive. On our run to the port, it is very relaxed. Apart from the bureaucratic stuff-up that has 50-ton HPMV vehicles not allowed to use the Invercargill truck bypass, forcing us to run right down the main street. It certainly puts extra pressure on drivers and adds potential danger. Obviously, some local councils aren't taking the HPMV vehicle situation seriously. The FMX is one smooth construction truck, one that's been built tough, even though it's hard to see, because it delivers all the best features of a highway truck. The high levels of comfort are pretty much what we've come to expect from Volvo.